Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. It has been quite a bit. Tonight we're going to walk through the latest movie news, which isn't much, what we've been watching, as well as talk about a pretty big story that I think is going to get some traction in the future, but we'll see where that goes. Sean, what's going on? How you been?
I have been lovely, Joe. But I would like to start the podcast off with some news. I often try not to get personal on this podcast, but I do mention my girlfriend, Sam. I have to say now that I will no longer be mentioning my girlfriend, Sam, because she is no longer my girlfriend. She is my fiance.
Sam, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That was really well rehearsed, by the way. I got to say, it went off without a hitch.
Did you see my lip quiver? Because I wanted to make sure that was seen.
Yes, I caught it. We'll zoom in on the ads for this.
Appreciate it.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's so exciting. When did this happen?
So this happened it was actually, if you notice, when I was very, very nervous during your virtual Guy at the Movies Film Festival, I was pretty terrified because I was about a few hours away from popping the question at that point.
Sounds good. And I think I saw pictures. Was it at a beach?
Yeah, we decided to go to the beach. But Sam, what did you think? Did you know? Were you ready?
I had some suspicions, and I certainly had some hopes. But what really made me think, oh, wow, this is going to happen. We had like 2 or 3 hours to kill before our event at the beach. And Sean's the couch potato. Normally he's always watching TV or a podcast. Sean was sitting on the couch just
staring blankly.
I was like, it's going down. I think something's happening.
I was sitting completely upright. So either I was proposing to her or I was a serial killer.
I would have called 911. I would have been like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. He hasn't updated what he's watching or listening to. Is he okay? That's awesome. So, I feel like you kind of get an inkling of when it might be coming down the road if it's not like, 1 month in. And, you guys have actually dated for a while and all of that. But that's so exciting. So the date is set. Everything's planned. COVID didn't impact everything. You're all good to go? Right?
Yeah, it's going to be next week. A wedding of 250. It's going to be great.
So much fun.
Places would let that we call with like, 2020, let's do it. They have all these incentives, but
there was someone completely off the beaten path here, but there was someone on Elvis Duran this morning, and they're like, yeah, I'm on my way to a wedding, and they're like, isn't it Tuesday? And they're like, yeah, my apparently like family member was supposed to get married. It kept getting pushed back, and they said the next date is Tuesday, blah blah. And she said, let's do it.
I hope we're not in that position. I don't really look that great on Tuesday mornings. I'm more of a Saturday evening gal.
Right. We're gonna start around like
Fridays, so we can't go further than that.
We're gonna start at like a casual 6 p.m. Make sure it's all gone. So, can we live stream the wedding through the podcast?
Yes.
Perfect.
That is not what I expected.
Get the views. Everyone loves a thing to dangle in front of them.
I mean, he asked for me to propose on the podcast, but I had a feeling you wouldn't have said yes.
I was like, you have no idea. I kept saying, just put your phone in your pocket. We'll be there the whole time. It'll just be me sitting here like, can you hear that? Can you hear that?
It wouldn't have been good TV though, because Sean was literally like, blah, blah, forever, blah, 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 and said like forever again. And it would not have been good listening.
The theme was forever, which when you have a little load of anxiety is not the best speech to do before a proposal. I learned.
So memories forever.
Yes,
no pun intended.
The beach idea was really great, but it was dragging him out of the water before he did anything with the ring, standing over the water.
I was fully in control. My hands were only shaking a slight amount, like Gene Wilder in Blazing Saddles.
So was this a prepared speech, or?
I had a little ditty in my head, and then it just came out complete gibberish. Like, I really, it just started going, and I was like, all right, this is happening. I was over the water, and I was like, all right, I'm getting on my knee in the water. That's going to be it.
It must have looked really awkward. People must have thought we were on our first date when we went down to the water line, because it was 4:00 on a very beautiful Sunday, and there were still families on the beach from a regular beach day. We're a little out of place.
If I waited until 6, I would have passed out, though. 4 was already too much for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That anticipation just has to be crazy for, especially for Sean, like knowing that you're about to propose, and then Sam for like not expecting it but suspecting it and being like, oh god, oh god, oh god, and then you see him get closer to the water. That's awesome. That's so exciting. So, were there other people there?
Well, Sean, aside from everyone else, all the other beachgoers, Sean, my cousin is a really good photographer. She has a fancy camera, and Sean did a really good move and asked her to be there to snap some of the pictures. So it was
awesome.
fun that I got to have one of my people there right when it happened to freak out too.
Very cool. That's awesome. Will Sean still be allowed to be on the podcast and watch as many movies as he does?
We haven't discussed our terms yet. But I mean, he's at like 10 or 12 hours a day of content. So I think there's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
I'm going to school now. I am teaching. So today it was only like an hour of content. So I'm,
and you're dying on the inside.
I am. I genuinely am. You gave me 6 months of like, complete, like out of control amounts of movies that I could watch. And
COVID gave you that.
Now I have, I mean, there's,
I had to lure you in somehow. It out there to taking up all your couch time.
Oh my god, that's insane. Well, that's so much fun. I'm very happy for you guys. That's awesome. I did have a little idea that it was going down, so seeing Sean panicking was nerve-wracking for me, but I can't imagine what it was like for you. And
someone got to see it.
And the pictures turned out awesome. So congrats, guys. That's awesome.
Thank you much.
You gonna stick around a little bit as we talk, or?
I have to go prepare mine and Sean's sleepy time tea so that it's ready for him when he's done.
There you go. There you go. I could use some of that too. So
this is where we are.
If you could ship some of that down to Philadelphia, that would be great.
I got a guy. I have a guy.
Perfect. Sam, thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, darling.
As he pushes her out of the way.
Reverse Collinsworth slide just bumps her off.
Well, congrats again. That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for those of you that want to see what Sean was like beforehand, there is a stream of our last live podcast, which was during the film festival, that you can kind of see it a little bit.
There's probably some noticeable marks.
Yeah. But talking about content with, Sam moving forward, you still have been watching quite a bit.
This might be the last week or so where it's going to be a lot of movies, because this literally classes just officially started for me. So this might, today barely got an hour in of TV. So I think this might be, I'll still get some movies in, but not as much as I usually do.
Well, I'll run through a few of the ones that I saw that you haven't seen yet, and then we can connect on the two that I know that we're overlapping on. And one of them we'll be talking about a little bit later too, in some fashion when we get to one of the news stories. But first and foremost, the first movie back to the theaters, I've been to the theaters twice now. The first one was New Mutants. I was very excited to see this actually make it to the theaters. It's the one that's been delayed for 3,000 years. Just I guess for the cast and the filmmakers, I just really wanted it to do well. It's not doing well. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's kind of just like a so-so movie. Kind of boring in some spots. The action's really cool at the end. The casting was a little off for me. I was not a big fan of that, but I saw articles saying it was the worst X-Men movie, and I don't think so by a mile.
It's a tough sell right there. That's a tough accomplishment to make.
Yeah, that's one series that really tries to outdo itself with that categorization in every movie. But New Mutants was good. I got to the theaters. Oh, I've been there 3 times actually. I did see Tenet. Tenet I enjoyed. Tenet was kind of a weird experience, like all Christopher Nolan movies are, right? Like you don't know what the hell's going on, and there's literally a line in the movie where one of the characters explains to John David Washington, like, don't try to understand it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the tell. But it's really cool. It's really well acted. I mean, John David Washington in particular is phenomenal. Elizabeth Debicki is really good in it, as is Robert Pattinson. I mean, every movie I see Pattinson in just excites me more and more for what he's going to bring with Batman. Because, it's a good movie. I'm going to go see it again. I actually just decided that I'm probably going to go this week just to give it another watch without, 1, the anticipation, but 2, trying to figure it out while I'm sitting there. So we'll check that out. So the personal history of David Copperfield was extremely boring. Dev Patel is really good in it, and they try to it's a beautiful film. This is what I've been falling back on recently with films. I'm like, they're really well done. It's a beautiful film, but it does not really do much to take the story of David Copperfield anywhere that I'm interested in, and that hasn't been seen before back in like the 30s or 40s or whenever it was. I saw Unhinged with Russell Crowe. That movie is batshit crazy. It is really insane. Russell Crowe is absolutely insane in it, and just like diabolical, and it's crazier than one expects. Let me just put it that way. Is it a great movie? Not really, but it was fun. I mean, that's one I saw at home. I watched a screener of that. I wish I would have seen it in theaters, because it's just like one of those crazy films that the action is kind of fun, and probably just would have been a cool, like, what the hell experience while you're sitting in there looking around like, anyone else seeing this? And that's actually that for what I've seen that you haven't seen. Actually, let me add one other in, because I just finished it an hour ago.
There you go.
I hope I'm allowed to talk about this. I'm still learning the rules of screeners, but
embargo,
yeah. I just watched All In, the Fight for Democracy, which focuses on a little bit of the Stacey Abrams, Brian Kemp, Georgia gubernatorial battle from 2018, but overarching the theme is about voter suppression and how it has kind of traversed history and is still alive and well today. So I won't say much more about it because I haven't put my review out yet, but it was pissing me. I was texting you during it saying, like, I'm fired up, I'm ready to burn things down. It's really frustrating. I can't help but think that it's going to be received differently depending on your political afflictions. But it's a well done documentary, if nothing else.
Nice.
Yeah,
So should I go with the ones that I have seen and you haven't?
Let's do that.
All right, cool. So for the first one was the Charlie Kaufman Netflix film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. You wanted to call Unhinged batshit crazy. Good sir, you do not know batshit crazy. It was so insane that this was such a beautiful film and such a fascinating film that it would have gotten an A from me, but it's just so insane that it's just illegible enough that it bothered me a little bit. I read a few articles, and after that it made sense, but don't make me do homework when it comes to a movie. I don't like that. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a very good movie. I think he's a little bit too nuts, and this is Kaufman I'm talking about, but still a little bit too nuts. The next one I saw was Robin's Wish. It is a documentary that's not about Robin Williams, but about the last days of Robin Williams and about the disease that he was suffering from. If you think that he killed himself from depression, you need to watch this movie, because this was something that is far more complicated than that. It was suicide, but it's a lot different than we would think. And it's just a fascinating medical documentary. Don't expect the other one that was on HBO a few years back, Robin Williams, Come Inside My Mind. That was about his amazing, comedic ability. This one is about the last few days. So it's pretty devastating. It's really tough to watch, especially if you're a big Robin Williams fan, but it's still a very necessary documentary.
I might have to check that out.
It's very good, yeah. Bill and Ted Face the Music I watched, and what a genuinely wholesome, fun, and stupid trilogy this turned out to be. I never saw any of these movies until this year, just to prepare for this. And each one they're really good because of, and I hate this description of it knows what it's supposed to be. I usually hate that description, but in this one,
reviews.
Yeah, it just does, it leans into it properly, and it's just very fun and wholesome. Another one that was extremely funny that I actively avoided was The Sleepover on Netflix. I thought, this is for kids and this is stupid and I'm not going to watch it. And then I watched the whole thing because I was bored and I was cackling up a storm. This was a very funny movie, still just for kids, still pretty silly, but surprisingly funny on how much it was. So those were the ones that I watched that you didn't.
That's quite the list. I mean, hey, I'm Thinking of Ending Things on my list as well. I have a couple other films I want to get through, but I keep moving that up because every review I read of it is kind of telling me I need to watch how crazy this film is.
It is very crazy.
Yeah, I need to check that out. So let's talk about Class Action Park, the HBO Max documentary about the New Jersey theme park from the 80s, was it?
I believe 80s, yeah.
Where essentially it was just this guy that was like, I have an idea for this ride, and they would build the ride and people would get insane. I can't listen, I have to bring this one up because this was shocking to me. That loop ride,
Oh my
right?
God.
Where they would just send like, employees down to see how it worked out. And, they would come out like all beaten and battered and bruised and whatever. So then they put padding in, and then people are coming out with cuts and stuff. They go in and find out that it's because teeth are lodged in the padding and people are getting cut on the teeth. This was insane. And my lawyer heart is, / brain, and lawyers don't really have hearts, but my lawyer brain is saying like, well, this is where like, the insurance industry really was born. And where regulations really came into play for like Six Flags and all the other crazy places that we have around us. But good documentary.
Well, it was just so fascinating because, I spent the first like 30 to 40 minutes thinking like, how in the world was any of this allowed to happen? And then they actually explain it, and it's plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't believe it, but all of it makes sense. So I don't have a lawyer brain, but I've seen Law and Order. But like, so I'm basically a lawyer. But I just couldn't believe like the craziness. And I love a documentary where you are laughing the first half, you're fascinated the next portion, and then all of a sudden it does take a dark turn and you do kind of realize some stuff. But this is like, based on this amusement park, it highlighted the culture and all of this. And I need to break this up a second because I realized I didn't put a certain movie on here that I watched.
Go for it.
So this one is called Feels Good Man. This is a documentary about Pepe the Frog. And that's why I like when someone said it, when I said insanity, this made me realize that this is a documentary about the internet meme Pepe the Frog. If you know nothing about this internet meme, definitely watch this. If you know everything about this internet meme, you don't, because you need to watch this. It is this fascinating look on culture and society in today's world on the internet and how it's just centered around this drawing of a frog.
What is that on?
It is on Amazon. It's out for rent on Amazon.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that we're finding, right? Is look at the films that you were talking about. A lot of them are Netflix films. We have HBO Max pumping out some stuff. There's some stuff on Amazon. So there's a lot of good content that's out there that, you don't necessarily have to go into theaters for. But Pepe the Frog and Class Action Lawsuit, or Class Action Park is what it's called.
Basically a class action
Basically Class Action Lawsuit. But you're right. It definitely does take a few turns. Suddenly they're like, this injury, that happened, this happened. And then we had a death. And you're like,
yeah.
So it's a crazy one. The other big release last week was Milan. Milan was released on Disney Plus for $29.99 Premier Access. It's the first of its kind to do that. From what I was reading, I couldn't find any specific stats, which is why we're not going to get into them too much. But it sounds like they did pretty well with people logging on to watch that, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's Disney, so Disney always has a pull. But what did you think of Milan here?
I thought it was a very so-so movie. I appreciated that it was a live action that was deviating from the animation. Not that I didn't like the animation. I love the animated movie. But make a different movie or just release the animated one again. And this did that. It's got a lot of flaws. There is some ridiculous choices that were made. I didn't care about the characters, and this is a movie that has Zima, Donnie Yen, and Jet Li, so I should care about those characters. And
wait, it has Jet Li?
He's the Emperor. I looked it up. I couldn't believe it either.
Well, there you go.
I didn't recognize him. Like it kind of like it blew my mind. Like. Without a doubt. So, but it has these people in it, and they're all underutilized. They don't care about the relationships in this. Like in the animated movie, she made friends with those soldiers, and you felt that. In this one, you didn't really care about it, including the crappy love interest.
There's like one scene where she's actually like connecting with them around a bonfire or something. Yeah. But you're right. You're totally right there.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing because they could have made something cool, and some of the directorial choices were very cool. I liked the way they positioned the camera on the fight scenes.
Yeah, 100%.
And then they brought in the CGI, and then I had issues because that was not properly done.
Yeah, I just had a lot of issues with the changes they made because, and we're going to talk about this a little later on when we're getting to another story, but it undermined Milan, the story that we all know and love, and the story about a woman persevering through a male-dominated society, and being as strong as she is, and as world-altering really for the dynasty back then. They kind of chop her off at the knees there, and I'm not really fond of what they did. So the casting I thought was pretty good. The action was good, but it crawled for me. The first hour, I was like, I am bored. I don't know. It's beautiful. Again, this is another one where I'm saying it's beautiful. Like everything about it was beautiful, but it just did not come together. And it's a shame. It's really a shame for that movie, because I think that movie could have been something big. But here we are. But we'll get back to that one in a little bit. Let's jump into some of the news stories. I think we only have a few because, hey, there's not much going on in the movie world. Theaters are reopening, which is a big story, but I think everyone's kind of focusing on that, and we'll see what happens. The first big one, we talk about Scream 5, it feels like every other week now, because there's a lot of casting going on. What we found out recently is that the star of Amazon's hit series The Boys, which just released its first 3 episodes of season 2 on Friday, that was pretty loud. That's a good microphone.
I went down this way. I am so sorry.
We're not editing it.
Oh God.
The Boys, Jack Quaid, he's going to be the lead or one of the main stars in Scream 5. What do you think of that casting? You watch The Boys, right?
Yeah, I watch and love The Boys.
Yeah.
And Jack Quaid is a very fascinating individual, like just based on his face alone. Because he is the child of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. And if you did one of those crazy photographs where you blend their faces, you would get Jack Quaid. It's a spitting image of both of them. And I think this creates a very notable and expressive and really wonderful face. I don't know. I can't get over his face, because like you see it and you think you know him, like you recognize him.
He's got one of those unique looks for sure.
It really is. And, it's great for a horror movie because, you need that expressive, over-expressive nature to yourself. I also think it's promising that they're bringing new blood into the franchise because, nostalgia is fun and all, and tapping into nostalgia is fun and all. But I think when you bring in a couple of new players, it gets a little bit better. I think that's what Bill and Ted did with Face the Music. They brought in their 2 daughters who were excellent. One of them, Samara Weaving, who we all sort of know and love, and the other, the name escapes me right now, but was wonderful in this role.
Well, and that's a good point that you just bring up with, like, we know and love Samara Weaving. That's why I kind of like this, because they're capitalizing a little bit on probably his success in The Boys, but they're not just rebooting with a cast of unknowns.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good decision. It has something going for it. I think it also indicates the direction that they want to take things with bringing in, a character or an actor like him that is, right now starring in a very sarcastic, very rated R show. I think that could be kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to that. We have until January 2022 to go for that, which gives you a lot of time to catch up on the Scream movie since you have not seen any of the 4.
I was just going to say I'm going to be having a Scream marathon.
Screamathon, if you will.
Screamathon, yes. Sounds good.
Yeah. So the next story we have is about our pal Robert Pattinson, who we mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking about Tenet. Robert Pattinson, of course, is going to be the Batman in the upcoming The Batman from Matt Reeves. It comes out next year. And they recently resumed filming overseas. Late last week, or I guess in the middle of the week, it broke that someone that was part of the production had tested positive for coronavirus, shutting down the production, or at least pausing it for the time being. Then news broke later on, confirming that it was Robert Pattinson, Batman himself, that actually tested positive. He's, of course, going into quarantine, and the production has picked back up without him. So I'm sure they're just filming, everything they can without him there. But kind of crazy when, number one, they're taking a ton of precautions. Number two, you always expect that this sounds terrible, but I always expect that we're going to hear someone gets it or whatnot. But for it to be the lead, the franchise lead, it just makes you wonder kind of how that came to be.
It does begin to show that, then this is exactly what I said here, is that overseas is not invincible. And, we as Americans, we think that because in America, it's a bit of a dumpster fire here when it comes to coronavirus. And so then, we think about, it's the luscious greens of overseas. They're all good. And it's like, yeah, they're doing better. but this thing is still happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a huge hit for, the filming community. Because I think right now we're just sort of saying, okay, we can do this overseas and it'll be good. And like you said, they're doing all the precautions. I'm absolutely certain of it. But, he's not wearing a mask. I mean, he is wearing a mask, but he's not wearing a, COVID-free mask during filming. I'm sure they're keeping distance and stuff like that, but things can happen. And I think unless you're filming a quarantine movie or a COVID-19 movie where they're all wearing masks, it gets tricky. I hope the best for the filming of this movie. I hope the best for him. I just worry that, we are not close to done with this thing, even though it looks like it from other countries.
Yeah, I mean, and the latest news is saying that it's shooting back up in some of the countries that we thought were really kind of beating it back. It's weird. I mean, I was reading, I kind of nerded out a little bit and really dove deep into the different precautions that each of the studios were taking. I think Jurassic World Dominion, the third Jurassic World, was one of the ones that was kind of looked at as the test pilot for everything. So a lot of them were going off of that one. But that's still in production, and that has everyone over there. Just kind of weird. I'm sure there's more to the story, maybe coming in contact with someone and I don't know. Who knows?
I like that Jurassic World Dominion, a movie franchise famous for opening way too early is decided to film. It just seems like just right,
Yeah, it seems really right. It's I'm all about it. So the irony is not lost. The next story is that Zack Snyder's upcoming Netflix film, Army of the Dead, which I'm actually pretty pumped about. Did you know about that? We talked about this a few weeks ago, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Pretty cool story about kind of a zombie apocalypse type thing. And this takes place in Vegas, where a group of individuals are hired to go in and retrieve a vault or money or something from one of the casinos. I think that's a really cool idea. What we found out now is that there is going to be a prequel movie that will be heading to Netflix, and as well as a prequel animated series. Which is kind of cool. I think that shows, well, here's what I would like to say, but here's what my firm belief is. One, I think it should show a lot of confidence in the movie and the original idea that they came up with. However, this is Netflix, and Netflix is looking for that major, franchise that they can just build upon. That's why they throw sequels at everything they possibly can, and they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, so to speak. Which I learned tonight is a nicer way of saying throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. So we'll go with spaghetti for this because this is a G-rated podcast. But yeah, what do you think about this?
I mean, it's kind of like throwing fucking spaghetti at the wall and seeing what's there. Oh, sorry. No, I think this is interesting because, first of all, Zack Snyder and zombies just lay me down and inject it in my arm. I mean, it's one of the few I like a lot of remakes, but Dawn of the Dead, his remake, the original is great, but his remake is wonderful. I really think it's a fast-paced kind of movie. It just jumps right in. So, him doing another one of these kind of zombie movies, I'm in. Put it in Vegas, which is a Zack Snyder, feels like a Zack Snyder thing for some reason. Great. Heist movie. Okay, let's do this. All of that part of it just sounds great. I think that, this is the Netflix move of putting the cart before the horse. We've got money. Let's do this. Let's make people like this before we know if they like it. That's a little bit of a problem. I agree with you. I think it might be that they have confidence in this. They've seen some stuff and they're sort of ready to say, okay, this looks good. I feel like, that's what exactly like you said, that's what I want to think.
Yeah.
I probably know what's going to be is them just being we've got money. Let's throw a lot more money at this by showing up a few other projects.
And remember the way that Netflix works, right? With the way we talked about that weeks ago as well, with the list of the top 10 original films, they focus on the number of views within the first month, but really that first weekend as well. So if they build something up and the marketing machine really pushes a film enough on Netflix with the millions of subscribers that they have, it's different than asking someone to go to a theater and spend $14.50 or whatever it is today for a ticket. Where they can just flip it on and start watching. So, I mean, part of it may be the marketing game, but who knows? I'm excited. Like you said, I'm excited to see Las Vegas as the playground for a Snyder film. I think that could be fun. Just like, here's a transition.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, I have to stop calling them out.
Very basic.
Very basic. Just like tomorrow we're getting the Dune trailer, and that film is hopefully going to be a lot of fun because it is a stacked cast. And it also, just from the teaser today, really got me going, really got me excited. And it's, I think they're talking about it being such an epic that, God, that's what I want to see in theaters. I want to see a sci-fi epic like Doom hit theaters.
If anyone could do a sci-fi epic, it could be Denis Villeneuve. The guy, first of all, he managed to make it with Blade Runner 2049, which I loved. They could have edited out an hour of it, but I loved it still. I think, it's a just well-made, beautiful movie. I think that, I worry that this is, famous material that is really tough to adapt. And, I say that so was, Lord of the Rings, which was really tough to adapt, and they nailed that. So it can happen. I mean, those are different companies and different people, but it can happen. I think that visually wonderful it's going to be. So am I excited for the Dune trailer? Yes. Am I wary for the movie? Yes. All right, go for it. I'm excited. I genuinely I'm excited, and the star power, like you said, this cast is ridiculous. So this trailer better be amazing, because when you release a trailer for a trailer, it upsets me. So, because all today I just kept getting updates like Dune trailer released, and I got excited, and it's like, nope, it's the trailer for the trailer, which that's not a world we should live in.
But it's a world that's become all too common.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. My concern is that it has taken so long to remake Dune, and it's such a popular book, such a popular story. But the last Dune that we got was in 1984, and that is not the best received film. But I'm hopeful. I mean, who knows with, what we're able to do in film today, what they're able to do in film today. Hopefully it is a worthwhile experience for us all. The only thing that worries me is when they're adapting some literary books that are especially long books. It worries me that we're going to get such a bogged down movie, and I can't do like a 3-hour epic where they're like, and then we're going to do another to continue this on because the story is not over and you met like 3 characters. I can't do that. Hit me with like a 2.5, 3 hour, like action packed, go for it. I don't know. We're going to get that, but
it's tricky. Yeah. Cause they're going to want to do the material right. And if they do that, then it's going to be 18 movies, and, it's like, cause the material is thick. So it gets a little bit tough, but
true.
We'll see.
True. All right. So the top story we wanted to talk about this week involves Johnny Boyega from the latest Star Wars trilogy. And in short, Johnny Boyega, who played Finn, he has kind of come out and is not shying away from railing against Disney. I think trying to think of the best way to say this or to introduce this. We'll just say it this way. He has no desire to go back to the series. He will not reprise the role, he had said, and basically he's really upset with how the character was handled in the series. He went on, he was interviewed and said, made a few comments regarding how Disney touted this really strong black character for The Force Awakens and then just relegated him to the background and really didn't give him much to do in the other two. Similar to how they handled Rose Tico, who was introduced, I believe, in the second film, right, in The Last Jedi, and then was like nowhere to be seen in Rise of Skywalker. But the big quote here that I want to read, it's lengthy, but he said, like, you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. You knew what to do with Adam Driver. You knew what to do with these other people. But when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, fuck all. So what do you want me to say? What they want you to say is, I enjoy being a part of it. It was a great experience. Nah. I'll take that deal when it's a great experience. They gave all the nuance to Adam Driver, all the nuance to Daisy Ridley. Let's be honest. Daisy knows this. Adam knows this. Everybody knows. I'm not exposing anything. So this really has started kind of an analysis of the different characters that we've seen touted through the films that may come from a diverse background that Disney likes to really push and say, like, look, we're going to have this character who, fills this diversity category. And I hate to say it that way, but that's exactly how Disney looks at it. I feel like they don't look at it as like a, let's really do justice to a character from this background or a character that may approach a situation with this unique point of view. It's more so a checkbox to say, like, look, there we go. Oh, there we go. We have it. I think about the Onward promotion when they said we're going to have the first out LGBT character. And if you blink, you miss it because it is literally one of the officers mentioning her girlfriend. And that's it. That's the only thing. You have a kiss at the end of Beauty and the Beast that pissed a lot of people off. But I thought it was hilarious. But it was actually, I thought it was well done how they incorporated that, but it's another blink and you miss it. There was a lesbian kiss touted for The Rise of Skywalker, and that's another one. If you're not paying attention to the background, you missed it. I'm going to go on a little bit more of a rant here, only because this kind of gets back to Milan a little bit. What really kind of has been getting to me, and I fell into a Reddit hole last night about this as well, which is why I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. The thing that really bothered me with Milan is that Milan is a strong character, and Milan is one of those characters that is a female Chinese warrior who is emblematic of what young girls can grow up to be and how they can be strong and powerful and persevere and overcome. And what we got in the Milan remake was what you referred to as the Force earlier. And this is a little bit of a spoiler, but you find out that Milan has the chi. She has a strong chi, which is kind of like this almost like magical backbone, which is used as the justification for why Milan is doing the things that she is. You think about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, when it came out under Disney, was kind of, first of all, it was panned before anyone even saw it because fanboys online kind of lost their minds a little bit, and a female superhero, oh my god. But when the film was made and when it came out, Brie Larson was kind of slammed for being one note and not really being very exciting on the screen and all that. But if you back up, the film was written by or was produced by two men. It's a film that's helmed by two men, supposed to be telling the story of the first female superhero. What do you think you're going to get? And I bring this up because just like John Boyega is saying, with himself as a black man and Rose Tico with her background and all the other times that we've seen Disney kind of tout different, inclusion steps that they're taking, they don't handle it well. And they kind of set these characters up for failure that it's almost like, if you're not going to try it, don't try it. It also takes me back. Star Wars is another example, again, with Daisy Ridley and Rey, where you could find no toys of Rey when the first Force Awakens came out. Because if you watch any documentary about toys, there was that fun one that was on Netflix a while ago, The Toys That Made Us or whatever. You learn that, female toys were never, toys of girls were never sold. Boys have action figures, girls have Barbies, when in fact they're kind of the same thing. So that's a little bit of a rant there. I feel like I'm missing someone that I wanted to bring up, but it just really pisses me off, to be honest. What are your thoughts on all this?
So just like you, I wrote my notes when you posted the outline, and I was basically Bruce Almighty on the keyboard. I just sort of went for it. Then all of a sudden I realized I had a page of stuff. So I trimmed that down. And this is what I sort of have to say about his comments. First of all, the most important thing is that I'm very proud is maybe not the wrong word, but impressed by John Boyega for speaking up about this, because he doesn't have to. He could make it easy on himself and just smile and say, like he said, it was a great experience, and lie to the press, which pretty much every actor does. Instead, he is standing up and speaking out. He did this at a Black Lives Matter protest, a few months ago. He said, Disney's probably not going to hire me back for this. And then he started speaking his mind. And I think that's very important. I think that kids see that, and they'll say, and Star Wars fans will see that, and they'll look at him on the screen and they'll say, wait, who was that in Star Wars? I don't really recognize him, because he was barely in it. But if we look at it, we could say that, just like he said, we already knew this. I remember when I read this article, I was like, yeah, this isn't really breaking news. His character was treated like, it was treated like crap in both movies, in those last two movies. He was kind of fun and in the zone, the first one, but really not there. Now, we really didn't know what to do with him and Rose's character. Yeah, they didn't know. Now, was it the writers? Was it directors? The problem I have with this, newest trilogy is that the trilogy didn't know what it was doing. Rian Johnson has like gone on record saying, yeah, they didn't really tell me what to do or anything like that. They just, said, here are the characters and just go. And I would have loved Rian Johnson to put John Boyega as a better role, and so I believe at some point he's at fault. But I think that something that's great about the Marvel movies is they let those directors be themselves, but then they say this character has to be here, this character has to be here, and this character has to be here.
Here are the mile markers you have to hit.
You need those. Instead, they just said yeah, sure, kill Snoke, which pissed off a lot of people. Not me. I thought it was kind of cool. But there's those issues with it. And so, you could say this is like a subconscious bias. You could say that they need a black director. Regardless, the whole world is kind of watching what you do with these diverse characters, and you have to be careful with that. Just having them in the story is not enough. I think about, first of all, the problem with the original trilogy. There's literally just Lando. And Lando is awesome. He is awesome. But there is just him. Mm-hmm. And I think that was something that was started to get called out. And, it was revolutionary at the time to have a black character be cool in a space movie. There should have been more. There should have been something there. But he was still a very crucial character that had these issues with himself, this turmoil with himself. I look at, the Rose and Finn. In The Last Jedi, they were a part of the worst part of it. Like Last Jedi, I'm a defender of Last Jedi. I get into a lot of arguments with my friends about it. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think it has a very slow part on Canto Bight, which involves those two. And it's like, let's get the diverse characters out into the desert and just leave them there. And it's a little bit scary when you think about it, but that's kind of what happened. And so that was, a little bit of the issue. There's also this problem that often happens. And sometimes it's for good with the Snyder cut, and sometimes it's for bad, but fans sometimes have their outcry and they get enraged. Like I think about, fans were enraged when, like in the trailer, there was a black stormtrooper. Now, some people were enraged because they said, well, the stormtroopers are technically clones and therefore there's none that can be black. Well, first of all, they were hired after a while and raised into it. So there's the possibility of black stormtroopers, but let's get past that.
Which is also explained. It's also explained that they were like poached from different,
It's very easy to grab. But anyway, there's the other people that just say they just get mad at seeing a black person. There's nothing we can do about those people. Just launch them into the sea. Then there's the other people that we have that, they're just very calm. They're like, listen, I love black people, and then that's an issue we have. But they say, I love black people, but, I just don't want politics in a Star Wars movie. What is political about putting a black character in the There's so many people that say, they're pushing a political agenda. You're just showing a black character in a movie so that, a black kid can look at a sci-fi movie and say like, hey, I've got hope for something else. And that's something that's really important. And so then I look at, just the fans were mad about that. So then maybe John Boyega took a step, maybe they put him in a smaller role because of that. Maybe not. Who knows? But then people were also mad at Kelly Marie Tran, the person that is Rose Tico. They said her character is terrible in Last Jedi. Her character is terrible. I don't know what was actually terrible about her character, with the exception of she was involved in the Canto Bight sequence, which was terrible. But I don't see her character was someone that she was dealing with turmoil over the loss of I think her sister, I can't quite remember. But she was dealing with turmoil. She was trying to make something better. She was genuinely in love with Finn, who didn't love her back. And, she was someone that has to deal with a past of being poor while she was trying to fight for the Rebel Alliance. I think there's substance in that character. And if you think that her character is bad, take a look at Oscar Isaac in the Force Awakens movie. His character was pretty terrible. Now, nobody didn't like him, though. Everybody loved him. Now I'm trying to think of his ethnicity and his gender. Yep, white male. So Oscar Isaac in Force Awakens, he's like that. Then you got Kelly Marie Tran, Asian woman. Now, are those people that are going to criticize Rose Tico's character, are they going to say that they criticized her because of an Asian woman? Absolutely not. And hey, maybe they genuinely have an issue with her character. That could be the case. All right. But there's a subconscious there. And as a white man, I've got my subconscious, and it sometimes tickles me. All right. So it's there. And I think people need to realize that, look at the characters, look at where they are, look at how they're treated. Because then what happened to Kelly Marie Tran? What happened to Rose Tico? She was behind the 2-second gay couple kissing, waving, trying to get into the camera shot. Because, I've never seen anyone punted so far out of a story before because fans got mad. I may look at this also, and John Boyega as well decided to join up with all the black characters and ride space horses down the spaceship instead of being involved in the actual crisis. And I think that, like, let's get all the black characters together really ticked me off. Oh man, this is the most angry I got on this podcast, but it's
No,
just that
I mean,
go.
You're spot on with it. I mean, there's a couple other things too that I think are really frustrating. Like, so I'm not a fan of Rose's character, but that doesn't mean that I like don't want to see her again, right? Like, it's a choice that was made, and if you're going to tout a character, and especially tout like an Asian American woman that's going to be in the Star Wars universe, and then you tout, the black stormtrooper of Finn, who's going to make this big difference in the character, and we know why you're touting these characters. Let's be real, and then you're going to just shit on them when people start being like getting upset that these characters even exist and whatever. That there's an issue there. You need to there needs to be some accountability. You need to take some responsibility for the fact that you just used these characters for the press that you got and then discarded them as soon as it didn't become lucrative for you. So that really upsets me. I think the larger thing here that's at play for me that really pisses me off, that's, I guess, really surprising, is that we're talking about Disney here. This is a huge company that makes a shit ton of money when you think about all the Marvel films that come out of it, all the animated films with Pixar, especially the remakes that they've been just like raking in the money with. You would think that a company like that, I guess, with a backbone of like being the happiest place on earth or whatever, and they've been very supportive of diverse causes and such in their parks, you would think that they would reflect that on screen, but unfortunately it seems like they're just going for the almighty dollar again, which as a Disney lover, it drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely insane, because you can't tell diverse stories and you can't reflect the makeup of the world that we live in by just throwing one character in for 5 minutes or relegating a character to the background. And sometimes you do more damage than you do good by bringing a character in and making them useless and just not doing anything with them, because that goes to show that they're disposable. And when you're talking about the representation of little kids that may be looking up to these characters or whatnot, what does that really tell them?
This really does come down to, in my opinion, it just comes down to, unfortunately, not all of it, I don't think, but a lot of it is China. I think that, when we find out, like, in Onward, the first openly gay character is, you're right, just mentions a girlfriend very quickly, something that can be edited out very quickly, just like the Star Wars lesbian kiss in the background, edited out very quickly. And I think they just like to say, like, hey, look, we did this, and then be able to edit it out right away. And I think that they, perhaps it is an almighty dollar situation. Perhaps it's something where, like, we can't really get rid of, like, we can't lose China's profit. And it's like, you can. I don't know. Maybe you can't, but I'm not the finance there. But like, I feel like you could take a stand against this whole thing.
I'm with you. I'm taking this a step further in my head right now, because I'm thinking about like Marvel and thinking about the Avengers and all white Avengers, right? And it's and now we have Shang-Chi coming out next year, and they're really going to utilize that to push, like, look what we can do, look how diverse we are as a community. Their major black characters before Black Panther in Marvel were on their TV shows. It's the more and more I think about this, the more frustrated I'm getting. And we haven't even really touched on the fact that one of the things I brought up was Mulan, and we're just talking about representation of women in these movies. We talked about it with Black Widow. It took Black Widow the entire 3 phases of the first round of Marvel, so to speak, the first 23 films for her to get her own movie. It really surprises me. Well, I guess it doesn't surprise me. It really just upsets me that's when you look at this, what Disney deems a success and what makes the money, it's a cookie cutter character in a lot of ways.
I think when it comes down to it like I mentioned this last week when we were just talking about women in film, or portraying women in film positively. I think it really just comes down to the directors. If you're making a movie about a woman superhero, you have a woman director. If you're making a movie about a black superhero, you have a black director. If you want to actually have substantial black characters in your sci-fi movie, Get a black producer, get a black director. There are very few of them, so we need to work on that. That's something that needs to be worked on. And there's more and more coming up. I mean, thankfully, like, just thank God for Jordan Peele, who is just right now, like, just starting a production company and is just hiring anyone he can of diversity, which is he's truly amazing in that. Because, I'd like to see him make 10 movies a year instead, but I like that he's doing this. And that's just one of the things that I think about with all this is, and am I saying that white people can't direct anything anymore? No,
right.
I'm not. White people are going to direct everything. Relax, okay? But I just think that, we need female directors. First of all, every time I find out, I watch a movie before knowing it's a female director, I see the credits and I'm like, oh, it was awesome.
That's why.
Before that, it's so much fun. And just like the same thing, like, black directors understand black people, black strife. Like, we don't. I don't know anything about this. All right. When a white director does something, I'm like, hey, he gets me. But other than that, I've got nothing to share there. The biggest example, and I'm going to hit DC, so get ready. I thought about Wonder Woman, amazing movie, directed by Patty Jenkins. Then the first moment we see Wonder Woman in Justice League, or one of the first moments we see her, camera pans right on her ass. And I get it. I get it. It's, it's part of the page. But just the moment that happened, I was like, oh, we lost it. There was just something there where, I just think that there's something to speak of for the type of director that's behind the camera. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a responsibility for studios to hire filmmakers that are going to deliver authentic, genuine films. And, if you want to tell a story, if you're going to tout a story about being or that is about an XYZ experience, or that is like a major female-led film, or is about an important, topic within the Black community, you need to have someone that truly understands that. And I'm not talking just reads a book or whatever, but is in tune with that type of story. And we need to do better with casting. We need to stop whitewashing our characters. We need to stop bowing down to what's going to make the dollar, because maybe if you actually put forth a genuine film, an authentic film, with authentic characters and authentic storylines, you would make that money because you're being authentic. And you don't have to spend so much time trying to craft, shitty movies that end up popping out for the occasional blockbuster that you get. It's just... I don't know. And I feel like we have talked a lot about this in the past, in terms of diversity and representation. And I tend to lean that way. And you and I were just joking earlier. I was saying, I've become like a social justice warrior in my reviews, and I need to stop doing that, because that's not the lane that I just want to stay in. But I think it's reflective of the time that we're in as well. And, larger societal issues that are continuously going on and continuously being under addressed, that need to be addressed, and it makes its way into every facet of our lives, and entertainment is not immune to that. So it's, not to say that we don't have the answers. Number one, we definitely know we don't have the answers. Nobody really does. It's I think a collective group effort that we all need to move forward together on. But it's just something that can't be ignored. And I think we're just speaking freely here. So if we misspoke or anything, it's coming from a place of just trying to, vent about these issues and get to know what the core problems are and potential solutions for them. But it's just frustrating. I mean, the fact that these keep coming up time and time and time again, it's, I think about the Scarlett Johansson movies. We talked a little bit about that when we were on the pod with the Basic Cinephile, Melissa Byrne, and Unlimited Reviews. But, they've taken characters that, I'm trying to. What was the superhero, or not superhero? The
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
They put Ghost in the Shell and put Scarlett Johansson in that role. Come on, Emma Stone in Aloha. It's so stupid yet so simple. At least it should be, in my eyes.
Yeah, I think we're growing faster, hopefully. I mean, I say that, and then I realize Green Book won Best Picture, which I haven't publicly gone on here and defamed that movie, but I could go on a rant. I won't, because I've already ranted today. I can't rant again. I'm quite literally out of oxygen. But I just think that, I think we have, it ebbs and flows with the knowledge of what we know and what we're trying to do. And I think it can slowly get better as long as we get more people behind the camera, more people in front of the camera. Most importantly, I just hope that Boyega gets hired for a lot of stuff with characters of prominence. That's like really like what that will show that this thing will go better. If he just disappears into the night because of this, that's going to be, I mean, maybe it'll be his choice, but that just shows me that we're not going to be learning anything. But hopefully he can be in some prominent roles.
Well, when his first thought at a Black Lives Matter rally when he's about to speak out is Disney's probably not going to hire me again. Come on. Like that's a major issue.
Yeah. And it's probably, I gotta be honest, it's unfortunately true.
Oh, I know. I was thinking
you have someone in front of the BLM protests, like Disney's going to be like, whoa. Republicans, what is it? Republicans watch, Disney 2 or something. The Michael Jordan quote.
Oh God, I don't even know. Well, the good news is that Boyega is going to be in a movie with Jamie Foxx and Teyana Paris, which is a Jewel Taylor's film. They Cloned Tyrone. It's a sci-fi thriller about a trio of individuals who, after a bunch of strange events, end up uncovering a government conspiracy. So that's going to be on Netflix.
That is my favorite title in the world.
They Cloned Tyrone.
That is wonderful, and already I'm excited.
I like the casting a lot. And
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and especially like the story is just right up my alley. I love any sci-fi story like that, so I'm all about it. So hopefully that continues. We didn't touch on this, and we don't have to get into it, but there's been some Ray Fisher developments as well. With
I just heard those, yeah.
Yeah, so and that's another case of an actor speaking out against a studio, and I was thinking about that in terms of him versus Warner Brothers in this case, and how Warner Brothers, is a large studio, but even Boyega on a larger level in some respects against Disney, the juggernaut that is Disney. It's just a shame that we're two very different stories, which is why we won't touch on Ray Fisher too much tonight. But it's just crazy. No one is immune to the shitstorm of this world.
I think that just what's most important is that we need to listen to John Boyega, and we need to listen to other Black activists. I know all we want to do is be in our echo chamber, and I get that, and I love my little echo chamber, but listen to people that are actually suffering through this stuff, because a lot of white people have hot takes about racism. Just don't, all right? You really don't know anything, and it's like, what, am I not allowed to have an opinion on racism? Not really. Not really. That's not our area.
And to clarify, when I say that we're like no one is immune, I don't mean no one individual. I mean no area of society is immune to the larger systemic challenges that are going on in this world. Clearly, like you and I are immune because we're white privileged men in many regards. So, well, that got deep.
Whew, okay, yeah, I got to take a few moments. Oh, okay. I'm feeling okay now. I got into the rant. I'm good now. I'm good.
This is a good time to launch our companion podcast called like The Weekly Rants or something.
This is You're Wrong and Here's Why.
All about it. Well, hey, like we said, there wasn't a lot of news this week, but we are starting to get some new releases that are popping up more and more. We have some going to VOD, but now with theaters back open, there are some, testing of the waters going on. Tenet, of course, will be in theaters for quite a long time now, and we will probably see that like making a ton of money for a couple weeks. I think it made 20 million countrywide this year. Oh my god!
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm like fired up by that conversation.
That was we got a lot of energy out there.
It's what happens. Like earlier, I watched that documentary. It just like primed me for this conversation. But anyway, so Tenet's going to be in theaters for a while. Just made 20 million in the States. I think it's around 150 million worldwide at this point. But it's doing actually pretty well. But that's going to be a lengthy one in there. This week we have the Broken Hearts Gallery that's opening in theaters. The film I mentioned earlier, All In: The Fight for Democracy, is hitting limited theaters this week, and then will be on Amazon Prime Video next week. The Social Dilemma on Netflix, which is looking at social media and kind of similar in a way that you were talking about culture and Pepe and all that stuff. I think it's looking at social media and like manipulation and culture and things like that. And then a movie called Unpregnant on HBO Max. Go ahead.
I got to say about this one, because I didn't know about this and I watched the trailer. There was an indie movie that came out earlier, like just before like quarantine started. It was going to be in theaters, called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. And that is a wonderful and heavy film about people traveling far away to get an abortion. This is the comedy version of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want to laugh during something like that,
You kind of stole the words out of my mouth. I mean, this is an interesting premise. Let's put it that way.
This was a tough one to look at. I think I'm definitely going to check it out. But after watching Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, might get tricky.
Yeah, yeah. It's big shoes to fill there. Oh my god. So upcoming events, we're going to have Quizzo next Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern. It will be general movie knowledge, so everyone's welcome. Should be a good time. And then go back and listen to all of the sessions from the first ever Guy at the Movies Virtual Film Festival, which you can find by going to the Guy at the Movies Virtual Film Festival YouTube page or guyatthemovies.com/film festival. You can find links to them. Really some great sessions, especially around like building your content and a lot of great podcasts. It's just a lot of fun. So please go check that out. It was a great weekend. Sean, you were there.
I was so I would watch several of the different situations, different interviews and watch-alongs, hyperventilating because I was about to make a proposal for a lifetime commitment, which I don't regret, darling. And I just think about like, all the other stuff that was there, a lot of like, really educational stuff, great conversations. It was great to talk with those three wonderful women. It was truly like just something that was like a lot of fun. So definitely go onto YouTube, check out those videos. They're really great.
Yeah, a lot of good content, a lot of different content from different people, which was fun, which is just what you deliver on your Instagram page every week. A lot of different content, a lot of fun.
Yes, I am on Instagram at Math Teacher Movies, where I post various very old reviews, although I'm running low on those, so I got to start watching some old movies again. But I also will do some current reviews. I talk about monologues, I talk about final shots, and I talk about what the Oscars got wrong. So a little bit of everything for everyone, but if you love movies, check out Math Teacher Movies.
There you go. And everything's going well with school and everything. Everyone's staying safe.
Pretty much. We've had one day with the kiddos, and they're all staying safe so far. But we'll wait until the honeymoon phase is over, as we call it, and the kids start to act crazy. So that'll be a little bit tougher.
Godspeed. You can listen to this podcast on Wednesday mornings anywhere that you get your podcasts: Google, Apple, Stitcher. What's the other one I'm forgetting? Spotify. All kinds of them. Check them out. And saying wear your damn mask hasn't worked. So God, wear your fucking mask. Like, it's not that hard. Just please do it.
Wear your damn mask and throw shit against the wall.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So anyway, enjoy your week back at school.
Thanks,
watch some films. Congratulations again, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Later.